Panic is one of the strongest forces a human being can feel. It strikes fast, it hits deep, and it feels overwhelming. It is the sudden rush in your chest, the tightening in your stomach, the racing heartbeat, the sense that time is speeding up while your mind freezes. Panic tells you that something terrible is about to happen, even when nothing is actually threatening you. Panic makes the future feel dangerous and the present feel suffocating. It makes your thoughts spiral, your choices shrink, your confidence collapse. But panic, as powerful as it feels, is not the enemy. Sometimes panic is a sign that you are standing at the edge of growth. Sometimes panic is not trying to stop you, it is trying to push you. People often talk about panic as if it is purely a destructive force. They see it as something that paralyzes, weakens, or destabilizes. But panic also has another side. It appears in moments when you are stepping into something unfamiliar, something bigger, something important. Panic often shows up when your comfort zone is being challenged, and no comfort zone ever expands without pressure. Panic is uncomfortable, but discomfort is often the first signal that you are evolving. There are moments in life when panic rises precisely because you are about to do something meaningful. You're about to speak up. You're about to take a chance. You're about to step toward a dream. You're about to make a move that matters. And your system, which is designed to keep you safe, reacts to the unknown with alarm. The mind says, this is unfamiliar, stop. But your heart says, this is important, go. That internal conflict is the birthplace of panic. And in that moment, you have a choice: submit to the panic or push with it. The push of panic does not feel gentle. It does not feel calm. It does not feel encouraging in the soft way inspiration does. It feels sharp, sudden, urgent. It feels like something inside you is demanding movement. Panic is like a fire alarm. You can either freeze and let the noise overwhelm you, or you can take action because the alarm demands response. This is why panic, when understood correctly, becomes a push instead of a barrier, because panic at its core is energy. It is intensity, it is activation, and any intense force when redirected becomes power. But most people misunderstand panic. They think the presence of panic means the presence of danger. They think panic is a message to step back instead of step forward. They think panic means they are not ready, not capable, not strong enough. But panic does not speak in truths. Panic speaks in alerts. It tells you that you are crossing a comfort boundary, not that you are crossing into danger. Panic is an emotional reaction, not a prophecy. The strongest people are not the ones who never panic. They are the ones who learn how to move through it. They do not wait for the panic to disappear before they act. They act while the panic is still rising. They turn panic into acceleration, not avoidance. They convert the rush into momentum. Because panic, when you stop fearing it, stops controlling you. What makes panic so intimidating is that it feels like it comes out of nowhere. One moment you are steady, and the next moment your chest tightens and your breath shortens. But panic is not random. Panic appears in moments when something inside you feels at risk: your pride, your expectations, your identity, your comfort, your routine. Panic emerges when you feel like you are stepping into a situation where the outcome matters deeply to you. Think about that. Panic rises when you care. If you didn't care, there would be no panic. Panic is not proof of weakness. It is proof of passion. If you can learn to reinterpret panic, you can reclaim your power. You can say to yourself, I am panicking because this matters. I am panicking because I'm stepping into something significant. I am panicking because I am growing. Suddenly the panic becomes less frightening. It becomes a signpost instead of a stop sign. But the truth is, panic feels physically uncomfortable. It shakes you. It makes every part of your body react. It can make you feel like you're losing control. And the temptation is to retreat into safety, to escape the moment, to step back into familiarity. But that retreat is exactly how panic becomes a prison. The more you avoid situations that trigger panic, the stronger the panic becomes. The less you face it, the larger it grows. Avoidance feeds panic, multiplies it, strengthens it. Action starves it. Every time you push through panic, you teach your mind something. This feeling is not dangerous. I can handle this. I can move with this. I can push forward. And each time you do that, panic loses a little of its power. It becomes less of a monster and more of a messenger. One of the biggest lies panic tells you is that you must wait until you feel calm before you make a bold move. But calm is not the prerequisite for courage. Courage shows up precisely when calm is absent. Courage is not a peaceful state. It is a decision in the middle of chaos. Courage is choosing forward motion when everything inside you is screaming to retreat. Courage is staying present when your instinct is to flee. Courage is not comfortable. Courage is commanding your actions instead of letting panic command them. There are moments when the push of panic is a sign that you are on the edge of a breakthrough, that you are about to enter a new level of yourself, that you are moments away from a transformation. But people misinterpret that push. They feel the adrenaline spike and think something is wrong. They feel their heartbeat accelerate and think, I'm not ready. They feel the intensity rise and think, this is a sign to stop. When in reality, it is often a sign to begin. Think about every great leap in your life. Think about moments you stepped into something new, a job, a relationship, a skill, a challenge. All of those moments came with a degree of panic because they came with risk. But risk is the soil of growth. There is no evolution without uncertainty. There is no transformation without discomfort. Panic is the emotional tremor that occurs when you step into territory that will stretch you. The push of panic is not gentle, but it is honest. It grabs your attention. It awakens your senses. It shakes you awake from passivity. Panic says, this matters. Pay attention. Move now. And when you respond from strength and not fear, panic becomes the fuel that drives you forward, not the fear that holds you back. Another truth you must understand is that panic is not a sign you're failing. It's a sign you're human. You are not a machine. You are not designed to feel calm in every situation. You are wired to adapt, to respond, to analyze, to grow. Panic is part of your emotional architecture, but it does not have to be your emotional master. The key to transforming the push of panic into power is learning how to regulate yourself in the moment. Not by suppressing the panic, not by pretending you don't feel it, but by grounding yourself in action. Panic thrives in mental spirals. It grows when you sit still and think about what scares you, but panic weakens when you move. When you breathe with intention, when you take a step, when you focus your attention on the next action instead of the imagined catastrophe. Action breaks panic's momentum. When you take even one step, make the call, send the message, walk into the room, say the words, the panic begins to lose its grip, because panic cannot control a mind that is committed to movement. Panic cannot dictate the path of someone who refuses to freeze. And this is why panic can actually be a push, because the intensity it generates can become the force that propels you into action. You can turn the rush into momentum. You can turn the fear into focus. You can turn the urgency into courage. Panic shows you your limits, but it also shows you the boundaries you are meant to expand. It is easy to believe that you must eliminate panic before you can succeed. But the truth is, you must carry it with you. You must learn to coexist with it. You must learn to feel it and move anyway. You must build a relationship with panic where it does not silence you, but instead awakens you. Some of the greatest achievements in history were accomplished by people who felt panic in their chest but refused to let it dictate their behavior. They used the rush as a signal that they were stepping into greatness. They took the trembling in their hands as a sign that they were alive. They turned the rapid heartbeat into the drumbeat of momentum, and you can do the same. You can take the moments where panic rises and say, this means I'm close to something important. You can take the intensity and say, this is energy I can use. You can take the uncertainty and say, this is the price of growth. You can take the fear and say, this is the doorway to courage. Because courage is not born in calm moments. Courage is born in panic, in pressure, in uncertainty, in the moments when everything inside you wants to stop and you choose to continue. You are stronger than your panic. You are bigger than your fear. And you are capable of pushing through what you once believed would paralyze you. Your evolution begins in the moments where panic rises, because those are the moments when comfort ends and expansion begins. Panic is often misunderstood as a force that exists only to stop you, but when you learn how to face it, not fight it blindly, but face it with awareness, panic becomes something entirely different. It becomes a source of raw energy, a burst of intensity that, when directed, can propel you through barriers you once thought were permanent. The push of panic is like a wave. If you freeze, it knocks you down. If you run from it, it chases you. But if you learn to ride it, it carries you forward with extraordinary power. People often assume that they must wait for calm to act. They think clarity only comes when they're relaxed. But calm does not precede breakthroughs. Calm follows them. Calm comes after you step into the unknown, after you walk through the storm, after you face what scares you. Calm is not the prerequisite to growth. Courage is. And courage is rarely calm. Courage is messy. Courage shakes. Courage sweats. Courage breathes hard. Courage often looks like panic from the outside. But the difference between panic that controls you and panic that propels you is simple. It's the difference between freezing and moving. You must train yourself to move in the presence of panic, not in the absence of it. This is why some of the most life-changing moments feel terrifying: asking for an opportunity, speaking your truth, stepping onto a stage, committing to a dream, ending something that no longer serves you, beginning something you've always wanted. These are the moments when panic floods your system. Not because you're weak, but because these decisions carry weight. They matter. Your mind knows they matter, and so it reacts with intensity. But here's the profound truth most people never discover. The moments that cause panic are usually the moments that define your future. Panic appears at the intersection of possibility and uncertainty, the exact place where your life can change. It shows up not to punish you, but to awaken you. It demands attention. It demands presence. It demands movement. When you learn to interpret panic as a sign of significance, not danger, your relationship with it changes. You stop fearing it. You stop resenting it. You stop avoiding experiences that trigger it. Instead, you lean in. You listen. You feel the rush and you understand, this is the moment I must step into. It's important to understand that panic is not a threat to your success. Running from panic is. When you avoid situations that create panic, you shrink. Your world gets smaller. Your opportunities narrow. Your courage weakens. Your identity contracts. Avoidance teaches your mind that panic is dangerous. So the next time panic rises, it rises stronger. Your system learns that panic means retreat, so it triggers earlier, louder, faster. But when you push through panic, something powerful happens. Each time you act in spite of it, your mind learns the opposite lesson. Panic is survivable. Panic is manageable. Panic is tolerable. Panic is just noise, not a stop sign. And little by little, your tolerance increases, your courage expands, your confidence grows. Panic loses its authority. It becomes background noise, not a barrier. This is how people become unstoppable, not by eliminating panic, but by mastering their response to it. Every great athlete, leader, speaker, creator, and visionary you admire has felt the rush of panic before breakthrough moments. The difference is that they didn't obey it. They used it. They converted it. They rode the wave instead of hiding from it. Your panic can become your push the same way their panic became theirs. To turn panic into power, you must understand the pattern of panic. Panic has a rhythm: anticipation, escalation, peak release. It rises quickly, hits a high point, and then naturally it fades. It cannot stay at its peak forever. But many people never discover this because they flee the moment panic begins to rise. They never reach the part where panic fades because they escape too early. If you can stay present long enough to ride the panic to its peak and let it pass, you reclaim control. You prove to yourself that you can endure the intensity. You teach your brain that panic is temporary, not permanent. And you learn through experience that the feeling cannot hold you hostage unless you let it. One powerful realization that destroys the hold panic has on many people is this: panic cannot stop you unless you stop yourself. The sensation of panic is not paralysis. The sensation is intense. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes. But it is not harm. Panic feels dangerous, but is not dangerous. Panic feels urgent, but requires no retreat. Panic feels overwhelming, but is survivable, always survivable. Once you understand this, panic loses its power to control your decisions. You begin to move with a kind of boldness that others don't understand. You begin to walk into situations that once terrified you. You begin to speak and act in ways you never dared before, because you now know the truth: panic is just emotional weather. It may storm, but you don't have to run inside. Part of transforming panic into momentum is learning to ground yourself in the moment. Grounding is not about removing panic. It's about steadying yourself enough to move through it. Grounding is the act of anchoring your awareness when your thoughts try to spiral. When panic rises, your mind shoots into the future. What if this happens? What if I fail? What if I embarrass myself? What if I can't handle it? These thoughts fan the flames of panic, making it stronger. But grounding brings your mind back to the present moment where you actually have power. You ground yourself by breathing slow, intentional, powerful breaths. Breath is the anchor of your nervous system. Breath reminds your brain that you are safe, even when your emotions say otherwise. Breath allows you to stay in the moment long enough to act. Then you take small action. Not massive, overwhelming action, just the next step. Panic hates clarity. Panic hates structure. Panic hates direction. When you choose a specific action, you break the cycle of panic because the mind stops spiraling and starts focusing. It could be one step forward, one sentence spoken, one button clicked, one foot through the doorway. Panic cannot overpower a mind committed to even the smallest forward movement. Another important truth: panic often appears right before you do something that will change your identity. The mind clings to old identities because they feel safe even when they hold you back. When you step into a new identity, more confident, more capable, more expressive, your mind sends a surge of panic in an attempt to pull you back to the familiar version of yourself. That panic is an invitation to evolve. If you can learn to act while panicking, your identity transforms. You become someone who doesn't wait for safety before taking steps. You become someone who doesn't need permission from the feeling of calm. You become someone who understands that action creates confidence, not the other way around. Some people spend their whole lives in the shadow of panic. They avoid risks, avoid opportunities, avoid vulnerability, avoid stepping into their full potential because they think panic is telling them to stop. But panic is not a stop sign. It is a spotlight. It reveals exactly where you need to grow. It highlights the areas where your courage is required. It shows you the doorways to your next level. You must stop seeing panic as a warning and start seeing it as guidance. The push of panic is really the push of potential. When panic floods your chest, your body is not weakening, it's preparing. Your senses sharpen. Your body energizes. Your mind awakens. That intense activation can be redirected toward action, decision, movement, power. You must also learn to ask yourself better questions in moments of panic. Instead of asking, what if I fail? Ask, what if this is the moment everything changes? Instead of asking, what if I can't handle this? Ask, what if I am stronger than I think? Instead of asking, what if it goes wrong? Ask, what if this goes right? Panic feeds on questions that predict disaster. But courage grows from questions that predict possibility. Another powerful truth: panic loses its grip when you stop resisting it. Resistance amplifies panic. Acceptance softens it. When you say, I feel panic, and that's okay, you take back control. You become the observer, not the victim. You separate your identity from the sensation. You say, this is a feeling, it is intense, but it is just a feeling. I can move with it. This mindset turns panic into motion. Because panic often contains the exact energy you need to break inertia. Panic's intensity can become drive. Panic's urgency can become decision. Panic's pressure can become precision. The greatest breakthroughs often happen right after the peak of panic. Because on the other side of panic is freedom. On the other side is a new level of self-trust. On the other side is the realization that you are far stronger than you believed. You must learn to see panic as a test of your readiness. If something makes you panic, it is probably something you're ready to grow into. Panic marks the threshold of transformation. It marks the moment where you stop being who you've been and step into who you truly are. You have lived through panic before, and you can live through it again. You have survived intensity before, and you can survive more. You have faced fear before, and you have grown from it. Panic has not defeated you, not once. Every time panic has risen, you are still here. That is proof of your strength. Now imagine what happens when you stop surviving panic and start using it. Imagine what you could do if panic wasn't a barrier, but a signal. Imagine what you could achieve if panic didn't make you retreat, but made you accelerate. Imagine what you would become if panic didn't shrink you, but expanded you. You would become unstoppable. Panic will still rise at times, but it will no longer control your life. It will no longer silence your voice. It will no longer intimidate you into smallness. Instead, it will remind you that you're stepping into something meaningful. It will remind you that your comfort zone is stretching. It will remind you that you are evolving. Panic is not your enemy, it is your edge, and the edge is where greatness begins. So when panic rises, do not run, do not shrink, do not hide, feel it, acknowledge it, breathe through it, and then step forward with it. Turn the rush into power, turn the fear into motion, turn the intensity into action. You are stronger than your panic, you are braver than your fear. You are capable of pushing through the pressure, the doubt, the intensity. You can move even when your heart is pounding. You can choose even when your hands shake. You can rise even when your mind races. The push of panic is the push of possibility. Use it. Ride it. Transform with it. You are not here to be controlled by fear. You are here to master it. And the moment you choose to move with panic instead of running from it is the moment you become unstoppable.